Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just got back from a screening of Sharkwater Extinction, but that is not what I'll be reviewing today. But I'll talk about Sharkwater for like 2 seconds. That is a film about a guy named Rob Stewart and the conservation of sharks and how disgusting the shark finning trade is and how it is the most despicable industry on the planet. So yeah, highly recommend Sharkwater Extinction if you like the planet, animals, and have a soul. So yeah, but it's 2:30 in the morning right now, but I was feeling a review. I just did two sittings of a show called Dark Tourist. It's been on Netflix for a while. It came out around you know what, never mind. Dark Tourist came out a little while ago. Dark Tourist came out in July of 2018. So a little bit ago. But anyways, it was just I was looking for good documentaries to watch while I was going to get sushi the other day because I go by myself a lot of the times, and I like to watch movies when I'm there. And so I thought I'd watch like a documentary about travel or something. And so I watched the show Dark Tourist, and it's basically this guy visits different areas of countries that are kind of dark, mystical, or have kind of a gritty undertone that not the average tourist would want to go to. So basically, and the host of the show, his name is David Farrier. He's kind of this witty, smart New Zealand guy, except he's got a British accent. And he's kind of like an everyman type character. Well, I don't mean type character, like that's who he is in real life. It's a documentary. But he's like Carl Pilkington, but like a little bit smarter. Not as witty, but just like a little more respectful and cultured and eager to explore. Whereas Carl Pilkington, if you don't know, he's from the show Eddie Abroad, which is the greatest travel show of all time. I will review that, I promise you. But and Eddie Abroad is just this kind of guy who's uninterested in all of the world, is sent by his friends Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant to go see just like all the most amazing things in the world, and he kind of doesn't see them in the same light. So, and similar in tone, Dark Tourist is about this guy who travels to dark, mysterious places. So I'll talk about it episode by episode here, and then just kind of give my thoughts on the whole thing. So in the first episode, he goes to Latin America, and he investigates the legacy of Pablo Escobar, and he goes to this weird, like, they're kind of like the people from Breaking Bad who worship, like, death, and they have to, like, crawl on their knees to this big shrine. And so he talks to these people that follow this kind of weird religion. So the first episode with this Pablo Escobar guy is basically, you know what? I don't like this format. We're changing it. I'm just going to talk about the whole show and then touch on parts of episodes I want to touch on. So let's start off with the guy who runs the show, David Farrier, the guy who leads it. I can't tell if I like him or not. In some episodes, he's kind of douchey. In some episodes, he's kind of not. But I do think he's got, like, good intentions. But when he's talking to people, if he, like, disagrees with them, he'll just kind of be like, well, that's stupid. And he'll give, like, a full interview of someone, and they'll give their whole side of the thing. And he'll turn around to the camera and be like, but that's not what I think. And they're actually like this. And I'm like, bro, you seem like you had your mind made up a little bit here. But, yeah, David Farrier, he's a witty enough host, and he's certainly pretty cool. And you know what? I can tell this review is going nowhere. And that's kind of how I feel about this show. I don't really have too much to talk about. It's a pretty good show. I liked all the stories they were talking about. They were all really, really interesting subjects. I just kind of wish each subject had been talked about in its own kind of film and not like David Farrier going through. But I do like seeing David Farrier's take on things because he's a funny, like, witty enough guy. But, like, I don't know. I just feel like each of these subjects is so much more interesting than he is that I would love to see them kind of explored. When I started filming this review, I really thought I would have more to talk about. The show's kind of underwhelming. It's like a 7 out of 10. I'll just read off the episodes for you here. So, like, the Latin America one is really cool because he talks to Pablo Escobar, his personal hitman, and that was wild. And the one thing I will say about the host, he'll go to, like, lengths for the audience to get, like, the inside scoop or, exclusive footage. And because in the American episode, he talks to the guy who's Charles Manson's best friend before he died, and the guy who got all of Charles Manson's possessions, who was going to do no interviews with anybody at all. And then through hookups and multiple conversations, David got an interview with this guy. He talks to some doomsday preppers in America. He goes to like a Jeffrey Dahmer exhibit, and these people who are obsessed with the assassination of JFK. Very good episode. Latin American one was good. The Japan one was really cool because I just have this obsession with Japan. I watch a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I watch a lot of Japanese cinema, and I just love Japan. So this was really cool. He goes to a Fukushima disaster site into like radiation zones, and then he goes to this hotel run only by robots. So that was pretty cool. And then he goes to the Suicide Forest, which is like, I've seen that a billion freaking times in my life. And then he goes to Battleship Island, or Hashima Island, which is pretty fucking cool. It's this big island that was abandoned by, it was like a mining facility. And then the mine just like shit out. And then so the town got abandoned because no one had any reason to live there. And it's just floating in the water. So he goes and visits it. Then he goes to the stands, which is like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, other kind of areas around Kazakhstan, but you know, that one was, that's probably the worst episode. It's the most boring. He goes to this nuclear test site, and I was like, the Fukushima one, they did this already, and it was way cooler in Fukushima. Then he goes to this city that's like closed off to everyone. It's got a budget of like $1 trillion, and there's just all these gorgeous like establishments, but like no one's in them, so it's kind of like, whoa, eerie, pretty creepy. Oops, sorry. Yeah, and then he just, that's kind of it. The Europe one was cool. He goes to like a World War II reenacting thing, and he finds these guys who are like Nazi reenactors, but he can't call them Nazis because they're not actually Nazis. They're German soldiers, but then there are these guys walking around in SS uniforms. So that one was pretty cool. And what else do we have here? Oh, he goes to, let me find here. This one was really cool. He goes to this museum, and the guy who runs it is just a complete and total fucking psycho. He's got all this like KKK gear, all this Nazi gear, all this Manson gear, all the kinds of creepy stuff from different places. But like the guy indulges a little too much, and he makes these weird dioramas of like the Holocaust. And he's like, oh, it's history, it's history, it's history. But then he's constantly like flipping things around to kind of exploit it. And Dave will call the guy out. Is that the host's name? I've already forgotten it. David Farrier. Yeah, he'll call him out. He calls him out to his face, and it's pretty good. Southeast Asia. Oh, this one was cool. He goes to Cambodia, and he goes to like this gun range, and he wants to like test the limits of like what these people will do for like a quick buck. And these gun ranges run by the military, and he finds that you can just shoot live animals. Then he goes to these this town where they've got like these dead bodies like on display, and like they don't bury them until like the end of their life, and they've been like dead for 2 years, and people are just preserving their bodies. And then the Africa one was by far the coolest because I've been to Africa, and Africa is fucking sick. So he investigates like voodoo in Africa, and it's like crazy what they're doing here in these voodoo places in Africa. He goes to like these possessions. People are getting possessed, and they're doing all sorts of violent things, and it was really creepy. And then after he does all the voodoo stuff, he goes to this township of like white supremacists who have like secluded themselves off from black people in South Africa. And I'm like, you live in fucking Africa, you colonist piece of shit. And then he goes to these people who are like doomsday preppers in Africa who think that the black people are going to commit a white genocide. But then, so he kind of hangs out with them for a bit. That one was fucking stupid. Let me fly back to the Latin American one too. He does a like kind of this fun little border crossing thing, and that one was kind of stupid, but just thought it was worth mentioning. And then in Africa, he also goes to these townships which have these super dangerous reputations, but are actually like hella fucking fun, and he has a great time. And yeah, and then he goes back to the USA again to hang out with these Manson people, and then he goes to like the ARC experience, which I'm not even gonna talk about the ARC experience and get any more publicity than it fucking needs. Long story short, this guy who runs, I think his name is Ken something. Anyway, this guy who runs it, Bill Nye debated him and fucking demolished the guy. And this guy, Ken, is a total loser who thinks the Ark was real and that, you know, the Bible is real. And he just is like obsessed with it, and fucking he's a total loser, piece of shit, and I hate him. And then he goes to McCamey Manor, which is like the most infamous haunted house in the world, and he quits after like 2 fucking seconds, and we don't even get to see how much of his experience because he quit because he's too much of a little bitch to go into it. But it's basically where they're like, you basically, you know, you get tortured until you almost die, and they're like, fun. Anyways, so that's my review of Dark Tourist, the TV series. Talking about it out loud has made me realize I didn't like it as much as I thought I did, and it was just kind of an underwhelming watch. But yeah, Dark Tourist, like a 6.5 out of 10. Dominion review coming soon for New Japan when that comes out. I'll review Best of the Super Juniors if you want. Let me know in the comments. Anyways, thanks so much, guys. Have a great day, and sorry that this review ended up being fucking garbage. So, yeah, see you around. Thank you.